Well, good morning, and thanks for joining us today for our 115th episode of Lightbulb Moments. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out past episodes. We've definitely had some great ones recently, so check it out, and we're looking for your comments and feedback. So I'm Tom Kuhn. I'm host and curator of Lightbulb Moments. Remember, money isn't the most important thing in life, but it's reasonably close to oxygen on the gotta have it scale. At Qnity, what we're here to do is to help you go from confusion, complexity, and overwhelm to a clearer path towards prosperity, using the new rules of engagement, which is simple, visual, and actionable. Remember to prosper, manage your ATM, your attention, time, and money, the three currencies we have in life. And it's not lost on us that you're spending your precious time with us today, so thank you. Last week, we had as a primary guest, Sue Ahrens from Studio B. And in addition to her, we had other guests, including Heath Smith, who is her Qnity coach, as well as Will Simpson from Vish, and had a great conversation about change management, profitability, use of a great technology tool such as Vish. So it was a great episode. Also at the Phil, we're going to unpack this conversation a little bit more deeply. We did share numbers during this session quite a bit, but a lot of it had to do with changing behaviors and implementing technology to a group that may not embrace technology. Our guest today is Gerard Scarpazzi, the co-founder of Hairbrained. I've been dying to get Gerard as a guest for a long time here, and so he's agreed to join us today, and I'm very excited about the conversation we're soon going to have in front of all of you, with all of you. We love hearing from you, and so if you have any ideas of any guests or light bulb moments or anything that you want to share, please let us know. At Qnity, we're really here to provide financial wellness for pro beauty, whether it's students through our Money EDU, for professionals with our Money Pro financial wellness program, or Money SBO, which is financial management for owners and members of their leadership team. April is the month of green. It's the month of green as it relates to the environment, as well as financial literacy. So we're certainly leaning into that, not in a very big way here, but financial literacy and economic empowerment is absolutely what we stand for. Save the dates. Obviously, we have the Phil coming up. I think we're only about 5 weeks away. Is it 5 weeks? Is it 4.5 weeks? All I know is it's coming up very, very quick in Austin, Texas at the Line. I do believe that we had a temporary no rooms, but now I think we have more rooms. Perfect timing by Michelle to pop on here. So I do believe we still had our room block was filled. And then I do believe we got some rooms added. So it's a good segue into Michelle put in the chat an update on lodging for the Phil in Austin, Texas. You know, the theme of the conference is the Phil, to fill your bucket, to get away from your business and to really have some time to recharge. And the other thing is to fill the gaps in your business, 5 particular gaps in particular. Areas of your business, which most of you want to improve some or all of these, and that's profitability, staff engagement, execution, leadership, and growth. At the conference, we will, and I think this can be an expectation for every year, it is a time when we will be releasing new tools, whether it's part of our signature grid-based tactile thinking tools, that are simple one-page tools that help solve major issues such as execution, as well as digital tools, of which many of those we're going to be releasing at the Phil. So looking forward to that. The theme at the Phil is zoom in, zoom out, and zooming in to really get into the details in terms of how your business can be even better. A zoom out is the ability to look at the big picture. So part of this is a time horizon, part of this is a management discipline, all of which we'll unpack at the event. Our impact awards, I might need a little help from team here. They actually may not be open anymore. We did get several impact award submissions. We have some really great things, and they are also going to be part of the conference. So these are some of our recipients from last year. So What I can say is that those that were awarded an impact award this year will be a little bit more involved in the fill, whether passively or actively, in some ways that we'll share with you in the future. We also will be presenting 2 golden light bulbs on Sunday night for exceptional individuals that have done have exceptional light bulb moments that permeated our entire community. We know who the 2 winners are. They're not Sam and Megan, Sam Bricado and Megan Jasper. Those were the winners last year. And we have confirmed that both of them will be present to present the golden light bulbs to this year's recipients. All right. So my light bulb moment for this week is really based upon my last, 3 days. Okay. So I've been in Chicago at I'd say a trilogy of events, but I think it's well more than that. So first and foremost, this was the America's Beauty show, 100 years. And it was packed. It was 21,000 people. The show floor was in full force. And I think it was the biggest show they've ever had. Now, go back 1, 2, 3 years, and that was not the case. So I know the ABS show was very successful, and shout out to those in the ABS and Chicago cosmetologists that work so hard to pull it off. It's a lot of work that goes into that. And I was able to enjoy the floor a little bit. But most of my time was actually spent with Beauty Changes Lives and Unite as One type gatherings, culminating in a Sunday night Beauty Changes Lives gala, which was absolutely amazing. It was a fundraiser. It was great to see so many people show up to really get behind a cause of making professional beauty a first choice career. So that's Beauty Changes Lives. Unite as One, I've spoken about during several of these light bulb moment sessions, is really a group of associations that many of which that were at odds with each other over the last few years have started to lightly collaborate a little bit more and more. More and more walls have dropped. But I saw it in full force this weekend because there were several meetings with many trade associations, beauty industry executives that were all coming together to solve a very common issue, issues related to data, campaigns to attract more people in the industry that really speaks to in many cases, a young individual, but it could be a more seasoned individual. So these initiatives are really important. And I guess my light bulb moments for the week are a couple of them. One is that about the walls breaking down, associations and different members of the industry really starting to work together to solve these common problems. So that was a really, really big light bulb moment for me. Also, Beauty Changes Lives, I think, went to another level this weekend. I think many people actually better understood the mission of the organization, how they can get involved, and all of that. And so certainly light bulb moment is about walls breaking down, Unite as One. And a lot of this, a lot of credit to this should be to several individuals, but ultimately Phil Horvath was the one that really had the light bulb moment to really start bringing these trade associations together. You're going to see some of this manifesting in the Phil, which I'll get to in a little bit here, but that's big light bulb moment number one. Light bulb number two is the whole subject of schools and talent. So we've discussed at great length and have brought data into the equation, how salons, spas, barbershops, et cetera, can really address their human capital needs and truly finding really great talent. Some even call it a crisis, but we've focused a lot on that, and that is talent in a salon and spa, how to find talent, how to bring more talent in the industry and all of that. But there was a new subject that came up, and this was really prompted by Linnell Lynch, who is founded Beauty Changes Lives. And we had a conversation about 2 weeks ago, and she said, Tom, schools are also dealing with talent issues. And in particular, it's with educators. And some of it is related to compensation. Some of it relates to maybe not understanding their compensation. Some of it relates to maybe they're not being paid enough. But anyway, but here's the deal. Regardless of what the reason is, all of us in the ecosystem are highly dependent on educators. And I've also heard some frustrations from salons and spas lately that, these candidates are coming in and the school has like one educator. I literally had that conversation with someone last week. So there's a little bit of in the barrel, a little bit of a deep dive that we feel needs to occur in this, because I think we can all agree with one thing, and that is that when we have great educators, we have great talent. All right, pretty simple statement. So this is actually going to start to this light bulb moment that I've had, not just me, but other people too, I believe is going to be the impetus for the segment at the Phil on Tuesday morning. And we're going to lean into this. We're going to lean into how schools, salons, and spas, and all in the ecosystem can work together to solve their respective talent challenges. I knew that we had a segment on Tuesday morning at the Phil that was going to relate with schools and salons, but we really didn't have as much of a focal point. But the focal point's becoming clearer and clearer. And next week, we'll share a little bit more about what that segment's going to look like at the Phil on that Tuesday morning, and how we as a community can really help solve each other's issues and problems. With the gist of what I'm getting at in this message right now is, how can we make sure that we have great educators that help inspire, teach, and engage with great talent coming into this industry, because we all win with that. Anyway, those are my light bulb moments for the week. I would love to see some of your chats. I probably won't read them until we're all done here, but let me now get on to our guest. So Gerard, we'll have you grab the mic there, and we'll have you come on the screen here. And so this is Hairbrained. This is part of Hairbrained. This is their community. And Gerard, let me give a little bit of a background for Gerard, actually a little bit about Hairbrained. Hairbrained is the world's leading digital and social-based community for craft hairdressers and colorists. They describe themselves as existing as a no-cost space for artists, craftsmen, and educators to come together to create, inspire, and share. They also sell tools, and they also have online courses. Top of the morning to you, Gerard.
Good morning. I apologize for any noise in the background. Of course, the gardeners have just gotten here.
Well, listen.
Let me know if it gets bad.
Listen, I'm just happy that you have gardeners. And I'm happy they have gardeners on site, because that must mean it's warm out there in California.
Yes, it is. We've, not to sound too bad, but we've had a little bit of a rough winter, more rain than we would normally expect. But we're finally getting some sunshine again. Don't feel too bad for us, though. Well,
our guests didn't dial in to listen to you and I talk about the weather, but
right.
Why not? So, Gerard, I've known you for a very long time. I've known you and your business partner, Randy Taylor. I remember when you guys started your business, because it was about the same time that I started Qnity. And you know what? And a lot of businesses really started during that 2008, 2009, 2010, because things were in a disruptive state. And so here you are now. We were trying to do the math, but you probably started the business around that time, and you've been doing this for 10, 12, 15 years now, huh?
That sounds about right. Yep. It's not something that started out, like ever had an official opening date, because it was just bits and pieces of technology and apps and things. And, I guess until they reach like a critical mass of people, you never really know if it's something that started. So, I mean, I think the thing that sticks out for me is, yeah, I mean, we were kind of formulating things from 2005 to 2008, and that means testing technology and building profiles and trying to gather a tribe. And then between 2008 and 10, you know, you see this kind of really quick, not really quick, but somewhat quick growth to about like where we could say, oh, there's 10,000 people that definitely know what harebrained is, what it means. They're using our, at the time, website, which was a community website. So I'd say, you know, between 2008, 2010 is the real kind of birth of whatever we were going to be.
And I did a brief description of harebrained for the group. If you'd like to take a moment and just kind of polish the edges to about harebrained, what it exists for, and anything else that you think's relevant, and using like a minute or two.
Yeah, I mean, I give us a really broad swath by just saying harebrained is a utility for hairdressers. You know, any way that we can help hairdressers have a better career and a more fulfilling life is where we want to be. So originally that was through connection with each other, through, you know, being early adapters of social media and digital platforms to help hairdressers connect and support each other. Then that went into working with some brands to help brands connect with hairdressers and hairdressers connect with brands. Then that went into supplying professional tools and hosting live events. And then that went into supplying digital education. And we're always just looking, how can we be a utility, you know, where either a hairdresser, a brand, people in the pro beauty space can use any of these assets that Harebrained has to help them, you know, kind of get something that they need.
Talk to us about users. I mean, how many are in the platform? How, you know, give us some metrics.
So, yeah, there's so many ways to look at it. If you want to look really big as social media, well over 2 million, you know, followers. I think it's 2.5 million at this point across the various social platforms that we engage in. Then in our own platform, which, you know, we still have the original harebrained.me community. Over the years, we've, you know, rebuilt that where it's mobile friendly and it's an app that has about 75,000 installs. And, you know, it's interesting. I mean, it's every day, 15 to 20 people just kind of install that app like every day, like clockwork. It's really interesting. And that's, you know, truly self-sustaining. I mean, that's just members connecting and posting with each other. You know, then there's email lists and there's so many different, you know, but it's in the millions, essentially.
You know, I go into a conversation with Gerard, and knowing your capabilities and the great work that you do as an educator, teacher, artist, and all of that, I just assume going into the conversation, we would lean in on that. But
yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's the core.
But when we were on for a prep call yesterday, I caught you doing something that
I was doing it while you were doing the intro. Yeah.
So, you know, we got a little bit of a glimpse behind the scenes into your business, you know, and I thought, well, that's an exciting place to really explore, because you're a small business owner, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you and Randy are partners. Do you have any other partners?
No, it's just Randy and myself at this point. Yeah.
So, you know, so there you are. We jump on a call and I'm thinking we're going to talk about creativity, the last big, you know, live event you did, and we should talk about that. But you literally were working on your books at the time. And so I leaned in on that, and I thought it'd be super interesting. It's like, and I was explaining to Sonia from our team, I says, so we had a surprising conversation. I was a little surprised. And I love the conversation though, because it's your take on financial management and a business model that's a small business, but obviously it's different than many of those we work with, because, you know, it's not like you have a high head count and all that kind of stuff. And we just got into this whole conversation about like QuickBooks and budgeting, and you were kind of geeking out about it a little bit. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'll say is, you know, for me, since I've been basically a teenager, I don't think there's anything more creative than turning $1 into $2. I think it's magic. If you
Hold
ask
on,
me, that's a
hold on.
magic trick.
That's his light bulb moments, by the way,
Yeah.
Qnity team. That's a great light bulb moment. So then, so let's unpack that a little bit. So when I caught you yesterday, I mean, you're taking a little more personal ownership over like QuickBooks and budgeting. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for the past few years, we had a CEO in Gordon Miller, and that was like his area, which was great. We let him kind of run with that. So Randy and I really could develop a lot of new capabilities, you know, because we were managing everything for the first, 5-6 years of Hairbrained. And then we were like, okay, let's bring in someone who can manage more of the financial stuff, because we also have to build things for the future. And if we're so in the dirt every day, then we won't have a chance to build things for the future. So in those 5 years when we had, a CEO, we were able to develop all kinds of new capabilities that we're now launching to our brands and to our customers and into our followers around the world. But in all honesty, I mean, it's something that I've always loved. Like I think, what I mentioned to you yesterday is so much of what we do as business owners, as hairdressers, as parents, as human beings is very subjective. Is it right? Is it wrong? Did it work? Did it not work? Where in reality, for the most part, budgets, versus actuals is pretty objective, like if you sat down and planned out, what you think you're going to spend on something and you spend more or less, it's a yes or no answer. And then it gets subjective and you can kind of dive into it, but at least you have a starting point, where lots of times it's very difficult to find a starting point.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I was taking away from you is that you get to spend so much of your time in the world of creativity and education, and how exciting and rewarding that is. And a lot of people would love to do that. A lot of people really envy what you get to do. But you're like, that's great, but I also love the balance of having part of the business that doesn't feel so creative. I mean, obviously this, creative solutions to reach a budget and all that, but I thought that was a really interesting insight. So the artist sort of craves it's the artist craving the left brain type activities is a little bit what I'm hearing. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say, pretty early in my career, I was lucky. I had a client that she actually wrote comic books, and she told me, I was probably only 19 or 20 years old, and she talked to me about developing both sides of the brain, something I had no knowledge about. And she had given me a few different books to understand that the really truly, developed artist has to be balanced, and we just see it over and over again. And I hear it over and over again. And I think very often it's just an excuse to not do the work. Oh, I hate numbers, or I'm not good at math. I mean, who's good at math? You don't wake up in the morning born like, unless you're Einstein or something. But it's just like, who's good at cutting a one-length bulb? That's not something you're born with. You have to take some classes, do the work, train, and make it part of your repertoire of what you do, and I think that it comes the same with something like QuickBooks, understanding and exploring it. What I was saying to you yesterday is, for years I've been paying so much money every year for QuickBooks and looking at it and going like, there's like 99 things here that we don't even use. So that's also, something that drove me. I'm like, I want to at least click through every single thing here, see what it is, try to understand it, see if it's got a benefit to me. And when I saw this whole budget planning section, which is something I've always really, as a small business owner, I mean, I know you have some pretty evolved people here, but for me, I've been a small business owner in one way or another for most of my life. And that was something that was, I knew what, it's kind of an after the fact thing. Like I got evolved enough to have profit and loss statements that were being filled in and look at it and think we spent too much, we didn't spend enough, after the fact, and then try to steer the ship. So it's like steering without a map. It's like getting lost and then trying to find your way back. So this is the first time in my business career where I actually had a planning tool through QuickBooks and was able to look at, the good news is we have all the data and then average out all the data to make, here's all the notes that I started, because I figured I'd wait to the first quarter. And then after the first quarter, now I can course correct. But I had all the data, and what I made was like an ideal month. And then, comparing the budget of that month against the first quarter. But now I'm realizing that I need to go a level deeper and look into the data and actually kind of reflect on the actual months. You can't just put the same numbers every month. You can, but it's like, there's some places where I know there's going to be, like for us, Black Friday, November, for my pro store, for our pro store tool distribution is a huge month. It could be easily 4 times the average month. So I had spread that profit out throughout the year, but then it like looks kind of really like you're off in every other month. So I think I'm going to adjust it and actually put it where it belongs. So yes, getting kind of geeky about it.
So this is very timely because we just did our, we have a workshop called Money SBO. And it really is based upon a course that I created many years called Financial Profitability and Financial Management Made Simple and Visual. And then we have, one of our educators, Candice Gliata, has taken it to a whole nother level, put her spin on it as a very current salon owner with her stories and all that. And so we've done the workshop twice. We did it in September. We did it again in March. Anyway, we're always upgrading and making dynamic changes to curriculum such as that. And there's a couple we made that I want to share with you because it's piggybacking on what you're saying. Number one is that I believe that one of the most common technology platforms that small businesses are on in the pro beauty and wellness space is QuickBooks. I would wait, based upon the data, have about 95%, which you can't say that about POS systems. You can't say that about CRM. You can't say that about most any other, kind of credit processing services. So that type of uniformity is a big secret that no one's really talked about. Number two with that on QuickBooks is that many owners are just completely overwhelmed and purposely stay out of QuickBooks. And to agree, they should stay out of it from trying to make entries and stay in their lane. Well, certainly a lane for owners is reports. So I love it when salon owners learn QuickBooks so they can run reports. And then I was going to mention one other thing. There's this misconception about having a budget. Well, there isn't just a budget in a business. There's multiple budgets. You have a budget when you do an event. You have a budget if you're, looking at your capital improvements for the year. And so many people, when they create their main budget, they start from scratch. They they're looking for some template. They're looking for a spreadsheet. QuickBooks already has a feature that's in there that helps you set up and do 90% of the heavy lifting on the budget. So anyway, pardon my editorial comments around that, but I was just excited with some of your observations, some of the things that you're leaning into and how timely it is for our community.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, I took kind of a broad look at it, and now I can get more and more narrow, and everything that you're saying is, yes, I need to break out and have, more refined areas and different budgets. So I love that. And again, I just think it is exciting. And I, as a business owner, something I always love doing is kind of starting my day in the bank account. I know it sounds maybe strange to people, but it's like, I have this little ritual that I've always done. I have here in my office across from me, I have big glass sliding doors on my, kind of utilities cabinet. And I've up and down those doors, I have lines, for all the different accounts, all the different everything. And I just update those numbers when possible every day. Unfortunately, I travel a lot, but when I have my ritual where I'm able to come back here and have some tea, I love starting off that way because it's like, what did we really make? What did we really spend? Where are we today? And I think, oftentimes I'm even, a little bit more dialed in than QuickBooks because it takes time for the pending stuff to, So I can look at QuickBooks and say, okay, this is going to update tomorrow and I'm going to get there. And I just think, I've had plenty of, new business owners talk to me about things like that. And I say, this is the first thing, I don't know what maybe you call it a leaderboard or whatever. Like, find a place that you enjoy sitting. I've got nice sunshine coming in. I've got my artwork, put it where you can see it and be true to those numbers every day, and then go in and balance it. My checkbook's right here, and then go in and balance it with what's outstanding, and, understand who hasn't cashed a check yet. When I owned the salon, I would do it every Monday, because that was, I was doing 50 clients a week. And I used to think, oh, this is like my favorite time of the week, where I could really manage my business. Now that I'm in a different place in my career, I can do it, as I said, every morning, as long as I'm not on the road.
Well, you are, I would dare to say that you are not in the minority as a small business owner that checks their bank account every day or most days per week.
Yeah.
In fact, there could even be a show of hands in our chat here to say, is there anybody else check their bank accounts every single morning? I do.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if I'm in the minority of people who actually enjoy doing it. It's one of my favorite tasks of the day.
Cindy DeSoto just said yes. Okay, we'll probably have more people say. And so, we have this sort of mantra, and it's stolen from someone else. Sales is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash is king.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the rituals and the calendar-based actions that we recommend are based upon time sequences. Cash is a daily. Profitability usually monthly, but to try to break it into weekly cycles. And so anyway, I don't want to get off track. So let's stay with harebrained a little bit more here. So, and tying together sort of your budgeting and all that kind of stuff. Help me understand your business model. How do you make money? And by the way, disclose within your level of comfort. I never put my.
I'm 100% comfortable. I have nothing to hide. So we have several ways, and they're all pretty simple and straightforward, and we advertise them everywhere. So first is sponsorships from, brands. So, early on, we realized that, we have the attention, or what we like to call the interest of hairdressers. And it's a certain type of hairdresser we call a craft hairdresser. It means someone who kind of puts the work with their hands first, within how they think about their craft. They're very craft centric. Of course, we're open to all different types of hairdressers, but that's our avatar of who we're looking for. It's a very educated and someone who's seeking education and to better themselves every day. Now, when we realized we had the interest of those people first and foremost, they're then interested in brands that they can partner with, and then brands are interested in partnering with them. So early on, we started to develop, and this goes as far back as what we were talking about the early days, on our web platform, which was, a website destination that was desktop based because people didn't even really surf anything on their phones yet. We'd start to sell banner ads, and those banner ads would be kind of rotating, and they would click through, and you could go see Wella's new product, or, L'Oreal's new color line, etc. So that was the original kind of thing in terms of advertising. As that evolves into social media, which we had to do, it's like a big change right away in your business model. Now you don't really see banner ads anymore anywhere, and there's actually things that block them. So when you do see them, they're actually pretty bad. And so you had to move into this more native way of working with brands through social media. So curating their content, featuring, artists, and featuring work within your natural stream of social media. So that's one area. We call it, kind of sponsorship. We've often thought of it more like the PBS model, rather than your typical, we're kind of no commercials, but everything is funded for and acknowledged by brands. And, there's a recognition of what they're doing or hairdressers that they're working with. So you can imagine, what that's like selling to people when they, are used to, well, I just want to get a page, or I want someone to just click a button and go right here. And, it's a more subtle way of connecting and earning hearts and minds. Second, we've got our pro tool distribution, which is hairbrain.pro. And that's become a sizable part of the business. Luckily, we started it pretty close to the beginning. I think we launched that in 2011. So we've got some time under our belt, and literally probably have fulfilled, I don't know, 60,000 orders or something since then. So we're literally a distributor, but we focus not on wet stuff, but on, tools, pro tools of the highest caliber. 99% of it comes from Japan. We work with companies that manufacture in Japan. We import. We've got partners in fulfillment. We've got a warehouse. And any given day, we're sending out 15, 20 orders a day of scissors, combs, brushes, etc. We also have an online academy, which is subscription based, which we started probably about 5 years ago. So we're with my partner, Randy Taylor, who's also a hairdresser, but very early on even before he was a hairdresser, he was into photography and creating videos and editing. And that's kind of how we were born. So he's got this passion for creating, digital content, videos. So we started filming courses and building an online academy that now has over 150 hours of courses and offers multiple ways to subscribe over a year. Those are the main buckets that come up.
Yeah.
There's other little ways, where we do one-off projects here and there of content creation, where we get in the studio and, we create stuff with people for a fee. We do live events where we sell tickets. But those are the main ways.
All right. Let me say, you mentioned Randy Taylor, so let's segue over to that. I also wanted to make that part of our conversation. So you started your business with a partner, Randy.
Yep.
And it was a long time ago, and Randy is still your partner.
And my best friend, which is amazing. We've been able to, I'm not going to say that it's always been perfect, but we've managed.
So how have you managed? I mean, that's a successful partnership that you're able to say that you started a business together. You brought in some outside talent, Gordon, and then now it's, the two of you again. And so you've survived. And do you have any particular sort of keys to success that has made this partnership work as well as it has?
Yeah, I mean, I'll first off, I'll agree that partnerships are difficult in anything. And even in the salon business, when I started, I had a partner, and that didn't last for very long. I mean, because, at the end of the day, we were arguing about what kind of toilet paper to buy. That's not going to work. I think there has to be a separation of skill sets and then a respect of those skill sets. So Randy comes to the party and develops a whole set of things that he does really, really well and that he's passionate about. And I have all these things that I do really, really well and that I'm passionate about. And at the end of the day, we give each other the freedom to make those decisions in those areas, but we also value each other's input, but we don't overrule, ultimately I say it all the time, like, Randy, you're the one who's going to have to do this. So I just want you to think about these potential challenges that I see. And that's kind of my job, like, for him. So with all this content production and managing, he's like a producer, a director, and there's a never ending stream of that when you're working with 20 brands and, we want to do this, we want to do that. Can we go in the studio for this? And my job with him is to always say, hey, wait a minute, this could go wrong, that could go wrong, this could go wrong. Here's the worst case scenario, which a lot of times in partnerships can suck. But ultimately, I say to him, it's your decision to manage that. And and if he makes a decision, I don't, it's not like an I told you so thing. And then vice versa, I have, my skill sets may be a lot more diverse. So I'm in all these other areas. They might not be as deep and time consuming, because when he goes into the studio to create something, it might be a few weeks project because all the editing and this and that, it's very rare that I have one project that's like a few weeks of my time, single focused. I'm like a few hours here, a few hours there, a day here, a day there. But same thing. I mean, he sees things differently enough that he could say, hey, you missed this, or you didn't think about that. And then I can, consider it. And then I can say, I'm not worried about it, or I am worried about it. So I think it's a differentiation of skill sets from the beginning. It's not two people that do exactly the same thing and think that they're right, trying to collaborate. It's two people that know that they're very different, not as humans, because we're actually pretty similar as people, and our philosophies about life and are pretty similar. But then the way that our skill sets of what we want to do with our time is very different. So, and then that respecting each other enough to say, here's the potential traps, and ultimately it's up to you.
Well, this conversation's flying by here, and I'm looking at the clock here. I want to ask you a question about, any light bulb moments you've had recently. Anything that's kind of hitting you over the head that's like, wow, this is just a change that I feel is very meaningful, or just something. And but before I do that, I want to make sure I don't forget, mark your calendars. I hope both of you or one of you can join us down in Austin, Texas for the Phil, May 21st through May 23rd. So we can take that one offline. But you're on the front line, you're talking to a lot of different people. And if you were to really call out whether it's a light bulb moment that you've had recently, or if there's a trend that's just like knocking you over the head, it just seems so obvious or important, sort of an unplugged question here for you.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of broad things. I think that, hairdressers are looking for kind of things that are local, and as local as like in their own salon, so when it comes to education, I'm seeing that, the days of getting a high price address and calling it an academy, and, thinking that people are going to come from around the world is less and less at the forefront. And it's more about meeting people where they are, which is, has its minuses and its pluses. And I'm seeing the same thing with events. I mean, we started off the year with 3 major events back to back. We had our Hairbrain Video Awards in New York, which is, an annual video competition that we do for hairdressers. We had our first teach-in Anaheim, next to Premier Anaheim. And then we just did a teach-in in Chicago. And I have to say, compared to previous years, it was a lot of work to get the attendance that we want. It used to just be like kind of get the word out there and people would show up and buy tickets and come, where I think people are being much more selective about their time, where they spend it. So that just leads me to believe, and, this is something that we're doing with the team, we're going to reinvent the way that we approach our awards. We're going to reinvent the way that we approach our, what we call teach-ins and live events. I think, I'm looking right now at Premier Orlando and thinking about doing something completely different, rather than one major event to try to get people all together at one place at one time. I want to spread it out into kind of micro events over the course of the show, and think about the cycle of the day. There are kind of morning people, and then there are midday people, and then there are evening people. So we're looking at doing kind of, I used to go to this, and tell me if I'm going on too long here, but we used to go to this startup, tech startup breakfast once a month in New York called Serial Entrepreneurs. And I always thought there's got to be a way to do this really cool for hairdressers and people who are creating tools or product lines or whatever. And the whole thing about it was, the person that organized it her goal was to just get people together to help them connect. So each person, and maybe you've been to something like this, would have a minute to just say, hey, I'm Gerard. I founded an app for hairdressers and we do this, this, and this. I'm really looking for funding, or I need help in marketing, or, and everyone would go around to make their announcement. And then there'd be a little break where people could, and I met tons of great people there, and just interesting people. Maybe there's a way to do this, and I'm sure it's been done before. I'm not saying like, whoa, this is revolutionary, but we want to do something like that as like a breakfast thing. And maybe it's just for 50 people instead of trying to fill a room with 500,000 people. Maybe you can do something impactful for 50 people. And then, you know, other things, again, I'm not trying to pitch anything, but I'm just trying to say, we're looking at it in a different way, smaller activations spread out that are more like friendly to different types of people. Someone who's going to go to a breakfast maybe doesn't want to be the person that goes to the cabana pool party. And someone who goes to the cabana pool party maybe doesn't want to be someone who goes to the, you know, award show. So that's kind of where we're at.
I love it. Well, Gerard, I've loved this conversation with you today. I love the way that you think and approach things. Let's everybody give Gerard a virtual round of applause. Gerard, you have your $1 million light bulb coming to you.
Oh, nice.
Virtual
Thank
round
you.
of this makes you a member of our Brain Trust. Yeah, and we'll keep our conversation going. We love the work you're doing, and we support each other's work. So let's stay in touch, okay, Gerard?
Absolutely, Tom, and thanks for all that you and the team at Qnity do to help my fellow hairdressers, you know, succeed, because that's what, at the end of the day, you know, if we're working hard but not building a life for our families and ourselves and struggling, then, you know, that's a big problem. So thanks for all that you do.
Yeah, thank you, my friend. All right, Gerard, take care. You're welcome to stick around. I'm just going to, or if you need to exit, no problem. I'm going to just kind of wrap things up here. So again, thanks to Gerard for today. A couple more announcements. The compensation study is reopened for using 2022 data. We haven't promoted it very much, but the promotion and the outreach is really going to be start to be pretty heavy right now, because we're looking to get as much data as we can over the upcoming weeks. So certainly watch for participating in this new reopening of the compensation study, building on what we learned last year. Save the dates. We've already talked about the fill coming up, May 21st through 23rd. We do have some spots left, but this is turning out to be one heck of a group, I'll tell you that. But there is still openings. There is the opportunity to still become part of the fill. I do want to also shout out to our sponsors, Lightheart Sanders, and then Ally Health, which is on-demand care, including on-demand virtual mental health care. Aaron's podcast, Money O2. There's some episodes that keep getting released on that, so check those out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we love hearing from you. So thanks for joining us this week, and hope you have a great rest of the week, and hope to see you next week. Take care, and thanks for joining us.